Well, I've got a bit of a different video for you today. It's about people who think they have more importance than they actually do, parallels, you know, stuff like that. So, a couple of days ago, a user on YouTube who's got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subs got into a controversy that was so big that his name trended on Twitter. Now, I haven't talked about this person in literal years. I have no issue with him. He's just a person that likes some stuff I like, but that's about it. But I considered making a video on him or on this controversy and, talking about this because I thought it would be something interesting to discuss. And were I to do this video or stream, it would have likely been mostly in his favor because I do think he was railroaded over something really stupid. But I also think his response could be talked about in a constructive manner. Nonetheless, I chose not to do this video because I didn't think it was something that I could make last for a whole stream or even I just thought too many people would try to misconstrue what I was saying. So I'm in this Discord server with a user who considers himself to be friends with this very massive YouTuber who trended on Twitter. And in actuality, he's more of a groupie than a friend because this massive user will often talk about people he's friends with, and he never discusses this user, never brings him up, never has asked for him to appear on his channel. He's just a person that has sometimes had him in a server here or there on Discord or gotten a private message from him once or twice a year, if even less than that, on Twitter. So he's not really that big of a actual person that this guy cares about. So me and this other individual are talking about the possibility of doing either a video or a stream on this person that trended. And the person who's in this VC with us, and we're going to call him the leeching liar for the duration of this video, sends this other person I was speaking to a private message with a video I did literally years ago, and then ask, maybe I should play this. Would he fake out if do it? The person who received this message assumed that he meant, would I freak out if he did this? Because on Discord, I use a name that is not my actual name. And I really want this to be understood. You have a guy who, were I to make a video on this other person, is not involved with this whatsoever, but feels like since he's in the same Discord server as me, he should have some ability to bite back at what I'm saying about someone else or interject himself in this thing that has nothing to do with him. Now, what's really interesting about this user is that he found my channel through some means. Now, he claimed that he found it because I made a video about this guy and someone else, a person who I've never talked about in any public manner, so we know that's a load of crap. But his justification for doing this was that, oh, it's public. Now, I just want to point out how hypocritical this lying leech is. About 2 years ago, he got into a conflict with another content creator. And this content creator was so angry with him that he decided to look up his personal information via his Facebook page. So he found his real name. He got his pictures that he had posted on there. And this lying leech was very upset by this because even though those pictures and his name were on a public Facebook profile, which is why a guy who wasn't friends with him could find it, it was still something that he wanted to not be associated with his internet activities, which is why he made a code name for himself on Discord. I'm just pointing out to say that I find it very comical that a person who gets offended when someone puts out his name and his pictures because they're not associated with his Discord account, at least by him, would then try to basically tell me that since my channel is public, I should have no problem with it being associated with a Discord account that does not link back to it and has a separate name. So I'm just pointing out his hypocrisy for you. But what's really interesting is that this is a guy who basically burned me about 3 years ago. I stopped speaking to him. I was done with him, and for 2 years I didn't talk to him. And the only interaction I had with him before joining this server was in some big group call where he got invited by other people, and I wasn't even trying to speak to him there either. And as I was thinking about how crazy it is to have someone who is trying to, like, I guess, blackmail me into not making a video about a person who doesn't even care about them at all, I started to get some flashbacks. Because I've been on the internet for so long that there's nothing new that's really done to me. About 2 years ago, there was a video I made about a user, and it was called "The Snake Who Called Me His Friend," and it was about this guy called the Discord Snake. And I'm not even joking. Some of these people you would think are made in a factory. When I just started to realize all the parallels that these two have, it became very disturbing. First of all, they both have mental illnesses, and I'm not saying that because I'm trying to insinuate something bad of people who have disabilities. I'm just pointing out something they have in common. Discord Snake had ADHD. This one was put in some kind of home for people with, disabilities. They both were people I spoke to for some period in like private calls, and then I got disenfranchised with and broke it off with them altogether. And when we started speaking again, in both cases, they both tried to do the like apologetic, "Oh, I realized my mistake, I'm not the same person" type of deal, before initiating a new conflict with me that involved them looking up my account on the site, where they use some means. Because the thing that these two also have in common is they both sit on the internet all day long. So they can go and like look up a whole bunch of videos and try to see whose voice is in what. But I just think this is such an interesting thing to have occurred, because at the heart of it is a person trying to interject themselves into something that has nothing to do with them, and having to basically get offended by a thing that they're not even involved with whatsoever, to the point of trying to like issue some pseudo threat to me in the event that I would decide to make a video on this friend of theirs that they claim to have. If you really think about it, there's a lot of stuff that's public on the internet, but if we, in our capacities as people who sometimes want to have fun, who sometimes want to get away and create some online persona, create a means for it to be very difficult for someone to find out who we are on another website, I think that should be honored to some respect. So for example, if I were to go and make a Twitter account calling myself Captain Amazing, and I have no picture of myself on there, but then I have, on Facebook, my real name and my pictures, it's very obvious that I clearly don't want my Facebook to be associated with my Twitter in this example, because otherwise I would link to Facebook on Twitter or not change my name and not show my face, as to limit the ability for someone to figure out who I am. And that's exactly what he does. He doesn't show his face that often. It's been shown a few times, but he never showed his name at all. And then this guy found out who he was, took his pictures off his public Facebook, and he was upset over it. But when he does this to other people who are clearly not interested in having accounts that don't have their names associated with stuff that does, he sees no issue with it because he's a hypocrite. I guess this whole thing is so weird to me because I've never had another man, whether it was someone I liked or disliked, who I felt like I had to look up the accounts of on other websites. Especially if I didn't have that much to go off. Like, somebody has the same name on the same site, that's one thing, but to like get the clue of, oh, this person has this first name, which is what happened with the Discord snake, or to get the clue of, oh, this is what this person's voice sounds like, and they're thinking of talking about this person in the video. Let me look up every single video about this guy on YouTube until I hear something with their voice. I don't have that kind of desire, to just get so focused and obsessed with someone to scour an entire website with very few clues or indications to go off of. And usually I don't look up other men anyway because I'm not interested in them. It's so nuts how with both the Discord snake and the lying leech, you start by speaking to them and you have this like, good dialogue. You're both into some similar stuff. They both like anime, for example, Japanese cartoons, mangas, whatever. And they do something that disenfranchises you. And it's not, you get in arguments with people you hang out or talk to all the time, whatever, but something that you think is like really annoying or frustrating, and they just like, it just upsets you to such an extent, you just leave them alone. And then a year, 2 years later, you speak to them again, right? This person with, that with these mental illnesses. And when that happens, it looks like they've changed because they both go and say, I know what I did was wrong and I apologize for my error. And then they find a new way to be obnoxious that has something to do with them looking up your account on another website through some like creepy means of memorizing your voice or typing in every video that has your first name in it. Just it's so crazy how these two guys have the exact same character arc. And it always has to do with me forgiving somebody for doing something wrong or doing something I didn't think was right. And then in response to that, you have this person who, again, they're self-aware enough to know that they were in the wrong, but who can then come back and justify their new act of ridiculousness. So just like how this guy says, well, I looked it up, but that's not a problem because this is public domain. It's in the public. Even though I cried when someone looked up my public pictures on my public Facebook and put them in a YouTube video, along with my name on my public Facebook. And then the other one's excuse was, well, I had to look up your YouTube channel because you wouldn't give it to me. I can't just respect your wishes like a, person who actually treats someone else like a human being. It's like they have so much in common, even if I would say that they have like little subtle differences. But again, talk to for a year, you leave them alone, you start speaking to them again, they claim to have repented, they get in some new scandal where they're looking up your account through some means that wasn't you giving it to them. They have some stupid, easily debunked, brain-dead reason for doing this. And then they make you so disgusted with the fact that you trusted them or treated them in a decent way after previously being convinced you would never talk to them again, that you feel bad that you even gave someone a second chance, period. The same exact person 2 years removed from each other. These internet guys, they're all the same. I guess the only difference is at least the Discord snake didn't think he had some important relationship with a channel with hundreds of thousands of subs that sends him a message every like blue moon to where he's gonna make vague threats to play my video. And it's so weird too, because the video he's talking about playing that I made on this guy, again, years ago, wasn't even negative. We spoke in response to a video he did. We didn't call him out of his name. Just brainless. Another thing I'd like to point out before we wrap this up is that if I got my way, none of this would happen. I was very dead set on never speaking to him again after that saga from 3 years ago, to where I wouldn't join any servers if I knew he was in it. When he was putting a call with me last year, I actually jumped out as soon as he got in there and he tried to say something to me. I ignored him. And it's so funny how, like, I only joined this server because now everybody is so against doing one-on-one calls. And after being in that server for less than maybe it hasn't been a full month yet, about 3 weeks, I have a guy who gets so offended by something that has nothing to do with him that he takes it upon himself with all of his infinite free time to go and look up my channel and then send a link to a video I did years ago to someone who's not me as he ponders this threat that he's trying to enact. Should I make a video on a person who, in every time I've spoken about them publicly, I've largely defended? But this goes back to the problem with people online. When they are so unimportant, when they don't matter, they have to do these things, insert themselves in these situations to make themselves bigger than they actually are. And I know that if I choose to log out of that account, and by extension that website forever, I'm never going to have to speak to this guy again, even if I'm in a server with him. And that's exactly what I'm thinking of doing, and I might even do this week. I think this is going to initiate the swan song for Discord, because too many weird, creepy guys are becoming obsessed with me to levels that people on other websites, except for YouTube, usually are not. I wish that chicks were as obsessed with me as these men were online, to where they're like trying to figure out who I am from hearing my voice and they can't forget about me. Otherwise, I wouldn't make some of the content that I do.